agenda. All right, get in the agenda.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Lakota Board of Education to order today, September 22nd. Adam, will you please call the roll?
Mr. D.
Here.
Ms. Casper.
Here.
Ms. French. Mr. Horton. Ms. Schaefer.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Adam, please call the roll.
Mr. D.
Yes.
Ms. Casper.
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer.
Yes. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome to the meeting this evening. We knew that we had one board member who was going to be traveling, and then we had a second who had an emergency come up, so I am thankful for my two fellow board members who are here so we could still have this meeting today. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a quorum. Also, thank you to all the work that Mr. Zink and Dr. Whiteley have been doing to share information on our master facility plan and educate our community. We appreciate all the education you've done around that issue, so thank you. With that, I'll move to superintendent's comments.
So speaking of the master facilities plan, I just want to draw some highlights, particularly around some financial aspects that we have been alluding to, or at least mentioning in our presentation, that I think are important to remember. If you could bring up those slides for the master facilities piece. So thank you. First and foremost, just emphasizing that fiscal responsibility and being good stewards of our taxpayers' dollars. I think it is important to recognize that we have not been on any type of ballot since 2013. 2013 again was an operating and a permanent improvement levy. But again, originally, and I, again, a taxpayer in this district, a teacher pretty close to that time as well, that levy was expected to last about 5 years. That was our commitment to our taxpayers and to our communities. So the fact that we have stretched that to now and then even beyond, we're not talking about anything in the foreseeable future until Mr. Zink will talk about that in the forecast tonight about what it could look like if we have an unsuccessful master facilities plan or bond issue on November 4th. But again, just to emphasize those good stewards of our dollars. Also 2005 was the last time we had a bond issue. I know our current bond is slated to be 37 years, so was that one, and we are paying that off early, well before that 37 mark. Again, making sure that we watch those interest rates and looking at the fiscal responsibility of when we can refinance. So I think both of those pieces, again, just to attribute to, we always, and Mr. Zink says this in our presentation, to go to our taxpayers to ask for any money, we take that very, very seriously, but we also make commitments as seen by these 2 years or these two landmarks of annual notices that we try to extend that as much as possible, and we never come back to the taxpayer before needed.
Yeah, this is actually the bonds that we have rolling off with the final year of collection in 2028. It's actually two separate bond issues. One was from 2000 and the other one was from 2005, with both of those rolling off. So one of a 37-year only made it to 25 years, and the other one being 20 years.
Yeah, and then the other piece, this is Mr. Zink's favorite slide. I have my own my favorite slide of educational programming, but I do think this really is the crux of the issue, again, from a financial standpoint. And so what I mean by that, and again, Mr. Zink, feel free to tag team on this because I know this is normally your slide, but what the ballot will show there on the left-hand side, that is accurate information, meaning that is what a voter will experience when they walk into a booth on November 4th. And so that really does say, the bond issue will be 4.99 with the permanent improvement of 0.95, which gets you that number that you see of the 208 per 100,000. However, and there is a however there's a but there, that is not what the taxpayer will actually experience when they come to pay their taxes. And again, the first time that will be collected is in 2009. The reason 2009, geez Louise, 2029, and that is because we were very intentional with that, right? Because of the timeline we need and the operational savings pieces built in. We have done our due diligence to make sure we have had independent studies, 3 of them, to say that the bond will never collect at that 4.99 mils, but rather that 3.99 mils plus the 0.95 permanent improvement, and then the roll-off of those debts that we just talked about in 2000 and 2005. That brings the taxpayer impact, what they will actually feel on their bill, to 2.66 mils, which is $93.10 per $100,000 of assessed value. I think it's also, assessed value is not what your realtor appraises your house at, but the county auditor piece. And so I think that is a huge component of when something, what you will experience on November in a ballot box is actually different than the impact. And again, I know we're gonna hear from Mr. Zink about his 5-year, or his financial forecast, no longer a 5-year forecast, but a financial forecast, that if the bond issue is successful in November, that would avoid an operating levy that is more expensive than the bond issue that we are talking about. So the November 4th issue is 2.66 mils impact to the taxpayer with renovations and new buildings, educational impacts, and operational savings from a reduced footprint. Or, if that is not successful, we would be looking at that potential operating levy, again, which is more expensive at 3.12 mils, and I know Mr. Zink will talk about that further, with maintaining mode of no new buildings, no renovations, and no educational enhancements. I do want to put a caveat, and I've said this publicly, and I think it is important for the public to understand. Maintaining has an asterisk on it, because although we would be maintaining in a building capacity if we did not have a successful bond issue, there will come a point, because of our enrollment and our class sizes, that we could be forced to make some very difficult decisions. What I mean by that is in K-6, when you were sitting at numbers of 27 plus, Independence has numbers like 30, 31, 35, 33 in advanced math classes, and we see those pretty consistently in all of our K-6 buildings. When you start to encroach in numbers like that, and you still continue to have neighborhood schools and kids enrolling in those neighborhood schools, those numbers just keep getting higher. When that becomes a norm, and I don't have a crystal ball that can tell you if that's tomorrow or the next year, because we have to continually keep a pulse on enrollment, but when that becomes a norm, we would have to potentially make programming decisions like the elimination of specials in K-6, which would mean we would have no art, no music, or PE in K-6, or we could also look at the elimination of an all-day kindergarten program, leaving only a half-day kindergarten program for Lakota local schools. I don't take either of those decisions lightly as an educator. Those have impacts not only educationally, but generationally for children who are not afforded those options. And so I just keep a caveat on that when we say maintain a footprint, there could be ramifications to the educational program without that reduction in footprint and operational savings that we're looking for. So I say that this is a very, very important slide. If you're on social media at all, I'm sure you have seen this slide, but I think what you will experience in the ballot box is different than the actual impact of what you will experience for the first collection in 2029 on your tax bill. And again, also the potential impact that that could have, if unsuccessful or successful, on a potential future operating levy.
Yeah, you did a nice job covering this slide. So we've done well. But yes, typically what people are seeing is what you would see on the left-hand side, which is what the ballot will say. That is what, if you pull up the county auditor's tax collector, that is going to calculate your taxes exactly like what the ballot's going to say, and we don't blame them for doing it that way. That's, our due diligence is on the other side, and they would have to pour their due diligence into it, and they have so many taxing jurisdictions that they're covering. They just don't have the capacity to do all that. We understand that. We did have resolutions to assure this. One passed on June 30th. That was to put the cap of 2.66 mils, so if anybody wanted to go out and read exactly how we're coming up with those calculations, that's on there. It's on the June 30th board docs. And then for the collection not to begin until calendar year 29, that was approved on July 21st, and we will not be giving them notice to start collections where when you see the November as forecasted, if that was to be approved in November of 28 for operating, then that would begin collecting right away in 29. So both of these line up. We just need we need time to be able to pull off the construction to avoid the other. So that's why the ask is today versus the ask in November of '28. That's what an operating would look like.
So on a different note, I talked about being fiscally responsible, good stewards of money on that first levy situation. Another highlight that I would like to share tonight is our report card data. So in October, you will hear from our wonderful curriculum department all of the wonderful details of that report card. I always love hearing that and you being able to hear that, because I do show it as a testament to our students who are in the audience. I know some, our students and our staff, and all of the hard work that they did for the 24-25 report card. For the second consecutive year, we have earned a 4.5 star overall rating. We are one of only 24% of the 607 districts in Ohio to receive a 4.5 star rating or higher, and of those, Lakota has the second highest enrollment of that group. Only 35% of districts in our region earned a 4.5 or higher rating. And so again, that is such a testament to us. So everything in achievement, progress, graduation, all 4 stars. Gap closing, we got 5 stars for the second year in a row, showing a very strong success in reducing educational disparities. Early literacy, we held at 3 stars, and the career and college readiness, we received 2 stars for that, just barely missing that 3-star mark, but that is a new component for the report card, and I know that the curriculum department will dig into that in detail, but I just want to say how proud I am of our staff and our students. I know that earning 4.5 stars is a great achievement. We will continue to strive for 5 stars, as always, but I think that is a testament to our hard work and in the rare air that it puts us in, one of 24% of 607 districts.
Thank you so much. Mr. Zink, anything else at this point?
I was going to throw out another point. If you went to the slide previously, you would see that the last time we were on for the operating and permanent improvement, which if we get to November of '28, that's very similar to that. That was forecasted, depending on who you would ask, 5 or 7 years. It seems like depending on who I've asked, some say 5, some say 7. But that was how long that operating levy was supposed to last for Lakota. If we have one in '28, that would be 15 years. So that's also another wonderful thing that we're doing all we can to make sure we stretch these as far as we can and have the programming the community expects.
Question?
Yes. Okay, I have a question on this slide. Just for the interest of, my microphone is not too loud.
You're on.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. For the interest of those that are not maybe aware of the numbers, what was the bond levy for 2005 and how much is left to pay?
So the bond issue for 2005 and for 2000, I was having a difficult time finding the actual ballot language. I know in '05, that was for, I was getting ready to say Van Gordon, that's wrong. It was for Wyandotte and Endeavor and East Freshman buildings. The 2005 issue is currently collecting at, today is collecting at 1.18, and the 2000 issue is collecting at 1 mil effective. So as a combined today, they're collecting at 2.18. For tax year 25, they are collecting at 2.28 because we all work together in an effort to offset that burden of the 2023 triennial update. We worked hard with the county auditor's office to try to put a little bit lower amount in to use some of the reserves that you have to have in order to get to the reappraisal in 26. However, the new construction didn't quite keep up at the amount that they had anticipated, so that's why that'll have a slight 1/10 of a mil uptick for calendar year 26.
So you don't have
And then the
number?
operating, oh, sorry, I should add this. The operating and PI in 2013, that was 3 mils of operating and 2 mils of permanent improvement. Currently today, the permanent improvement portion is at 1.09. So it's collecting at about half. The operating, I look at the operating as general fund as a whole, so I didn't look at that specifically. So I should have looked at that issue specifically.
It's okay.
I would assume that it's probably somewhere in the 1.5.
I don't mean to put you on the
About
spot.
half.
so-
No, no, it's all good. It would
All
be,
right.
it would be tracking relative to what the permanent improvement is, which is just a little bit over half.
Okay. Now, on the second slide, the language this is how it's going to appear on the ballot.
The left-hand side.
Okay. Don't you think that's going to be like a little bit of confusion?
It very,
Today.
very much is confusing.
Yeah, so-
And that's why that slide is such a critical in messaging, because as a voter, when you walk in, it will not be what your actual impact is.
What makes this even a little bit more tricky to communicate is a lot of times I think all of us have heard of people advertising a no new millage issue. Have you heard that reference before where people will say it's a no new millage? Well, not necessarily even renewal. It's just kind of like it would be like if we waited until 2027 and was talking about 2.28. The problem we have is we're trying to get a little further in advance for it to be a little easier for people to see what that no new millage would look like on this. So yes, it has been a very challenging communication that we have had with all of the people that we've been reviewing with.
But once they hear the explanation, you can get to the people, they understand it. Most people in those sessions we've sat in said, oh, okay, now I understand it. Do you, Isaac, were you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Will you want to explain why the millage is collecting less than the millage that was voted in?
Yes. So the millage collection that's going to go down to from the 4.99 down to the 3.99, that is with the assumption of based from this current tax year through the reappraisal that will happen in calendar year 26, that will collect in 27, even though this wouldn't collect until 29, and as well as timing with the amortizations. So with the timing of the amortizations that we have, this will be a two-phase bond sale. One will be sold in 26 with the other one being sold in 27, and the timing of how much the debt payments would be is how that'll be accomplished.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for that, but what I wanted to know was the current operating from 13, why, the PI and the operating from 13, why they're not collecting.
Oh, because of
What-
House Bill 920.
Thank
The way House Bill 920 rolls
That's what I
back.
was
Sorry
trying to
about
get
that.
That's okay.
Ask me
But that-
simpler.
The other thing is also very important to know, so.
Yeah, so the way House Bill 920 works is it essentially feels like it's a fixed sum, even though it's not a fixed sum. Anytime you have new construction, that will capture that. But then it assures that we collect the same amount as we did the prior year. So the permanent improvement portion of that would have been right around $6 million, and it still collects right around $6 million. It's just it takes so much less in order to accomplish that.
So when we pass a levy for a certain millage, it never collects
More
more
than
than that millage.
That is-
So when you have many, many new subdivisions coming in, you don't get many, many new dollars. You just split the whatever's being collected among now.
New
there's
construction growth
500
dilutes
houses.
exactly how much we all pay. In a reappraisal or update, it's more of a redistribution of the collection amount, but whenever you have new construction, the more new construction you have in an area, the less everybody would have
Has
to
to
pay.
pay.
For example, Lakota has voted millage of 64.4 mils, and today we're collecting 23.3. So and that's just how it all rolls back as you have growth.
It's kind of like those sixth grade algebra problems where x times y equals z, and as x goes up, y goes down, so z stays the same.
It still stays
Go
the
back to
same.
your, your basic algebra equations. So, yeah.
And I do want to, we are very fortunate, Adam and I are, to be able to go and speak to our community through the complexities of this issue. The slideshow that we give, or the presentation we give, which certainly includes these two slides, is on the website. It's recorded, so that people can see that. And again, we would be happy to come and talk to anybody and everybody that would want us to further dig into this information, or if they have questions. But this particular slideshow in its entirety, with our voices explaining it, is actually on the website in case people would like to see that and share it.
And there's been very robust question and answer sessions, and
Oh.
so, and the question and answer document on the website continues to be updated to
Ever
capture
evolving,
those.
yes.
Something that we've also talked about that we don't want to change gears now because it's actually better news, is if you look at both sides of the slide, in order for the 0.95 mils of PI, there's no possible way that that would be 0.95 on the other side, because that's voted in to collect the amount that it's voted in today. So once we get to 29, it would still be collecting the amount that was voted in today. So it would be lower than that due to the House Bill 920 rollbacks. So
So this is worst-case scenario.
that is we've said this at several, that is an amount that I'm willing to bet my career on, which is why we've published it. Because if I miss, then you guys will probably end up missing me.
And that's why, you know, I do, again, I live in this community, we live in this community. I think the first slide where you look at the levies and the length of levy and how long we have been able to stretch those, that shows the trust that you can put into Lakota local schools, because when you say 5 years or 7 years, and it's extended well beyond that lifespan, and we have made sure to pay off our mortgages and due diligence as early as we can. And not only that, but on the slide with the half and half, you know, we have had independent studies, 3 independent studies verify that we can deliver on what we are proposing in November, and we have taken the resolutions necessary to put the teeth behind that we need.
And I believe we've done a nice job with making sure that the people we've talked with understand that we actually have a little bit bigger plans than just what we have put out. We just have to only print what we know we can do. A funny one that I had was when talking with somebody that may be on the different side of the equation, they mentioned that this was the biggest bond in Ohio school history. And the day before, I'd seen this on social media, and I did some looking up, and I said, you know, this is true. This is true, that it is the biggest bond. $506 million is the biggest bond in Ohio school history, because the current number one was a $488 million bond issue passed by Cincinnati Public Schools back in 2004. So it's been a while ago, but this one would be a little bit larger than that from '04.
But if you adjusted for inflation, and then there's other school districts that have just broken it into parts, so rather than just being completely honest with how much it's gonna cost from day one, they've chosen to break that into parts, so it ends up being more, but it was just in parts instead of one big decision.
Well, and the scope of the number one of the CPS was not it was not their district in its entirety, it was pieces, whereas our master facilities plan is looking to impact our entire district. Again, operational savings of going from 21 buildings to 16, plus the renovations and or reconstruction and the educational enhancements that we would receive from it.
No matter what, we're going to do all we can to continue shifting dollars from operation over to education. So, whatever it takes.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments at this point? Hearing none, it's our favorite part of every meeting when we get to highlight our students and their success. So if we could have our Freedom Elementary third graders come and join us at the mic, we would appreciate that at this time.
I think we get to have some hands-on learning tonight, so we're pretty
good.
excited.
Good evening. So this year, as part of the curriculum adoption process, Open SciEd is one of the programs we are piloting in the classroom. Tonight, we're bringing a science lesson to the stage so you can partake in some hands-on learning. Third graders from Freedom Elementary School, Vivian, Emmy, Shepard, Aiden, Jake, and Jacob, are joined by their principal, Shelley Kerr. The students are going to head over, well, they're already there, to your seats while Mrs. Kerr walks you through the lesson about balance.
All right, our students are going to ask you to build a balanced sculpture. It can be still or it can move in an interesting way. And then the students had to write about their ideas and sketch it. We're not going to make you guys do that part. So you're going to work with your student partner to build a sculpture. Go for it. Good luck.
All right, what are we gonna do? Start with this one? Okay, fabulous. Does it have to be tall?
Should we do it right on the desk so it's like a more
What do you
stable
think?
bottom instead of these folders in your way?
Make it tall? Okay. Are you gonna help me?
All right.
All right, what do you think?
Reinforcing the base
Oh,
there.
look at that. You think we can get something on top of that?
Yeah, something on top of that.
In the middle?
And then we could probably fit.
What do you think? If I move it, we can fit more than one. Oh, maybe that can go. We also have over here, there's some space here too.
What do I do with these?
We could probably use this.
You want to put that there? Okay.
Oh, we're gonna have it be a little off balance and add a little weight over there, huh?
All right, so we should want to put this one up here?
Maybe just and then the last one.
Oh, yeah, look at there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right, nice job. I'm not cheating, I just had an expert teacher. Expert. Oh, look at this dress. What is she doing? What do we, let's put something fun on ours. Now I'm cheating now.
Is the gold make it
You need this? What do you want to do with this?
There's clips right here.
That's okay.
So while you're building, I'll just tell you, this is the Open Syed, is the science curriculum that we are piloting this year to consider buying for K through 8. And it's all inquiry-based, hands-on learning.
Try to find like some this.
All right, let's see if we can.
Those two and then you put them great. Probably do like one more on the back.
Where do you want to put this down here? A paper? You want to put a paper there or just a clip? Okay, what are we going to do with this?
Probably put it right there.
Sure. Could we put it long ways?
Get creative.
Let's try
You do
this.
you.
You want to put it this way? Like on here?
Okay, now what?
I don't know.
All right,
You
I
tell
know
me.
you guys could spend all evening building, just like our third graders wanted to, but we're going to ask you to put all of your supplies back in your bin.
Ooh, perfect.
Nice job, I love it.
Is that going to be too heavy?
All right, we've got to follow directions, though. All right, we're gonna do it one more.
All right.
There we go, very nice, very
All
nice.
right, thank you for your help.
Thank you so much.
Nice job.
I
Did you have fun
appreciate
doing
your
this?
hard work.
Did you have fun when you
for
did
the
it in class?
building. All right,
So much
they told
fun.
us we had to clean up, so.
Thank you very much. You're a great teacher. It was nice meeting. What's your name? Nice meeting you.
Oh, no, I just meant,
Oh, here's your.
if you were in school, that would be the case. There you go, thank you so much for your help.
Okay, can we do an experiment every
Every
morning?
time, I know.
Mrs. Schaefer, I'm not sure if you have if anybody has
so
any
fun.
questions for them before we do the other.
Do we have questions for our students? Anyone? Looks like Dr. Whiteley, do you, oh,
I have a
So my question, and it can be, to my partner or anybody, how did you know what would work and what wouldn't work? How did you figure that out? What was your thought process?
So what I did, when I did it in school today, I just kept stacking things. Like the base fell a few times, but by the time we figured it out, we had started stacking the top on and then just seeing what we could do with it. Like spinning it by blowing with it. And then today we just we stacked more things on it, like rulers and the rings. So we just like played with it and tested it out a lot.
Anybody else?
Well, for mine, how I knew, like, I made it spin. First, it kept falling and falling and falling, and I just kept rebuilding and rebuilding, and I added some clips, one paper on the left and one on the right, and when I blew at it, it spinned, and it balanced. The first time it fell, but I kept improving.
Thank you.
Yes.
Try things, and if they don't work, we try again.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have something to say. I want to, Jake, thank you for helping me out. Did you guys know that when you have this kind of project, 2 or 3 people in one project, there's one major thing that is very important. What is that? Jake, do you know what I was asking? I keep asking you, right? I keep asking you questions, right? Communication. Because I was nervous, I was not sure I was going to get it, so I keep asking him questions, and he was directing me. So communication is very important. Collaboration. To be able to be successful, you have to communicate. I asked him, I said, okay, how do I balance it? He started talking to me, then I got my courage back. So communication is very important.
Did you learn from watching your classmates in class today? Were you able to learn? If anybody raise your hand who learned from watching their classmates today, did you get new ideas? Do you think you'll, like now if you put your hands down, do you think you'll use those ideas the next time if you were to do it again? Would you share some of those ideas because you learned from your classmates? I love that. Do you like hands-on learning? Is that your very favorite thing to do? Some of you yes, some maybe not. Perfect. Thank you so much.
I just have a quick question. Did you feel like since you'd already done it in class today and you kind of saw what it takes and what doesn't work and what works, that it was easier to teach us because you had some experience doing it already? Yes. Did you like the teaching someone else to do it part? Awesome. Thank you very much for coming.
All right.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank you guys for coming in and sharing this with us, because this is probably the most fun student spotlight that we've had. So good work.
And, oh, yeah.
Also, that class is mine, from earlier today.
I love that. Just in time delivery on the photos. There you go. Well, we would love to take a photo with you up front. If you would join us in the front right here, that would be wonderful. All right, a hard act to follow after all these kids, and we do understand that there may be homework and other commitments this evening, so do not feel obligated to stay for the rest of our meeting if you would like to excuse yourself at this time. But you are more than welcome to stay if you would prefer. With that, we'll move to board reports for Butler Tech. You may have seen in some media this week, we had the Lieutenant Governor Tressel. Lieutenant Governor Tressel came to Butler Tech's campus for the Business Advisory Committee. They were somewhat limited in how many people they could welcome in, but they were able to highlight some of the different career tech options that are happening, and so that was a wonderful visit, and we're glad they accepted that invitation. And then beyond that, Butler Tech did their financial forecast, as Adam will be doing for us tonight with Butler Tech's financial health. And again, their funding works a little differently, but everything is going well from a financial perspective. We did share some of the challenges with the new timing of being able to have an accurate financial picture, because you're still missing a little more information because the requirements for when different reports are done have changed. So a little bit of a transition here currently as we get used to these new dates and the new assumptions that will be required because of the new dates. So we reviewed that. And with that, I'll move to the Facilities Committee.
Something, let me add real quick. If you look at your agendas, I did send an email out about this. If you look at the content, there are links now that'll take you to different places to help find information a little bit easier for board members or community members.
Yeah, we talked about that in the agenda, and I appreciate, Adam, you doing that. That's what we've said people have questions and they say they don't know where to find information, and so this is an easy way to have everybody have hot links to take them right there. Continuing to try to improve how we can communicate at all times. All right, with that, facilities.
Facilities continues to meet regularly. Naturally, we're in the thick of a bond issue and a master facilities plan. Speaking of that link, I know one of the things just several community members have shared is, I'd love to know the dates of when you're coming to speak to different groups or locations, so that can be found in that link there. We will continue to refine our communication and our engagement. Every time that we meet or every time that we host a session, again, we get feedback, whether that's through a question in the FAQ that you mentioned, Julie, that we continue to update, or whether it's through the presentation itself. So those questions continue to make us better. And if you have a question, it's just like we tell children, if you have a question, probably somebody else has that question, so we do appreciate those. We are still, again, working through our staff presentations, our community presentations, and again, we would be happy to come to any event necessary, whatever side of the issue you are on, so that we can talk and make sure that people are informed. Because at the end of the day, on November 4th, again, regardless of where you might land on this issue, we want you to go vote, and we want you to at least cast a ballot.
Great, thank you. With that, we'll move to Finance Committee.
So Finance Committee, we met last week to review the 5-year forecast, to also kind of talk about some of the components of the goals for the year. And that was about it, really.
We talked a little bit about fees as well, so if you want to touch on.
Yeah, so we did have a couple of glitches this year when we got off the ground with the student fees. Student fees began to show up on people's, is it hack account, is that correct? Mm-hmm. When it began to show up on their hack account, once we got past the add drop period, found that there was a couple of isolated buildings, not district-wide, it wasn't complete global, but there was some issues with some clearing of queues. As we went through this, I believe was the way it was stated, there was a clear of the queue, kind of a procedural issue that led to some duplication. And then one of the problems that we've ran into is with these softwares, a lot of times when it goes in and you find the problem had happened, it then takes until the refresh 24 hours later or at 9 o'clock at night or whatever time for it to be reflected in accounts. So then the timing can become a little bit problematic with people seeing the errors, us fixing the errors, but then the errors, people still seeing the errors until they don't. So found that, did find that there was, at one building, we did have a few kindergarten fees got added to a second grade. We found that, I believe that might have been at Shawnee, if that was one. But if anybody finds these issues, please reach out, please let us know. We are getting on those ASAP if we do find things like that have happened. And then typically we can assure the correction had been made, but then it might take until the next morning to be reflected on accounts.
And if somebody paid money that wasn't due, you are proactively making.
Yes, refund back, yeah, sending that back to the card that made the payment, correct. That has been one of the benefits of this new pay schools that, you know, although we haven't liked pay schools, we were forced to switch from Easy Pay over to pay schools. But one of the better, I guess, silver linings has been the way that it'll issue payments back to cards has been a little bit more user-friendly than the other software. Although I don't think we're past the growing pains yet of losing Easy Pay and going to eSchool. As a reminder, the people that own Pay School purchased Easy Pay and forced everybody over to Pay School. So that's why we're here.
We didn't stop using it.
Yeah, we waited till the last moment to make that change, but that's why we're here.
Great. Any questions, other questions for Adam? Board Professional Development, anyone have anything they'd like to report?
Yes. Remember the last meeting, I couldn't remember the date for OSBA Southwest Regional Folk Conference, so I want to report on that. October 9th is the date for fall conference, so I don't know if we have people registered yet, but I, as a regional executive, I'll be attending.
I think you and I are registered.
You did? Okay, great. Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right. committee dates and meeting times again and trying to give everybody multiple spots. We do have those posted and linked for upcoming committees and meetings. And then now we get to go with Mr. Zink and his new financial forecast.
All right. Perfect. Okay, so it is a little earlier than what we're used to. We're used to talking about this in November and May. We've had a little bit of a shift, and so we're here tonight talking about the financial forecast, also known in May as the 5-year forecast. So as the overview, as always, what we'll do is we'll talk about the purpose, we'll talk about changes, revenue and expense, and then we'll talk about planning and as we move forward. Okay, so the purpose of this is a useful tool that we used twice a year. We have approved by the board. This is where we'll talk about, the future plans, where we're going. This is a management tool. This also allows us to have the 412 certificates and know kind of what contracts that we can take part in, knowing where we're at. And then we also have to provide this information over to the DEW. This is a way that they monitor the financial health of school districts and knowing where, if there's anybody in jeopardy of needing a little more attention. I will say I also had reached out to one of our elected officials at the state level to see if maybe there would be an interest in having all government entities begin doing these, not just public schools, anybody that gets the tax dollars, so that all of us can keep an eye on that, just like people do a nice job with the schools on. Okay, so changes due to House Bill 96. So the biggest change we had was the submission deadline. This is a phase-in year, so because of this being a phase-in year, it was due by October 15th, or we had to have it approved by October 15th, and then by the end of February. So because of our board meeting schedule, that's why we're here at September 22nd, reviewing this at this time. Then beginning in fiscal year 27, that will be due by the end of August, and again by the end of February every year there forward. As mentioned a little bit prior, the reason they call it a financial forecast now is because we now have to submit 4 years, not the 5th year. And so all of the documents that you'll see on the assumptions, we've left everything still reflective of that 5th year of the forecast, but that's what, when we submit to DEW, that's what they're going to show. So on our end, on the assumptions, you'll see a little bit more. Another big change, as seen today, is they have a piggyback legislation that went on that gave the county commissioners the ability to double the credit or forego, essentially for the county, forego the owner-occupied 2% credit as well as the homestead exemption. If that would have been taken as both, that would have had an impact for tax year 25 that spreads over fiscal year 26 and 27 for us. That would have had an impact of $3 million reduction. Because the county did only the homestead portion of that for people that are disabled, veterans over 65 years old, that actually had an impact to our general fund of $860,000. So this forecast does reflect that change. Another thing that we've ran into, we talked about this some in the Finance Committee, and Ms. Schaefer kind of mentioned about Butler Tech. It has been interesting as we've worked through this, some of the normal timelines that we've had for looking into trend data. We actually, it has been a little bit harder to get with this. We had to have this by September. A good example would be like our healthcare. When we have on any given year roughly, natural movements, this year was a big year for retirements, but when we have that natural movement of anywhere between 100 and 150 staff per year out of the little over 2,000 total people that we have, they have, when the contract starts, typically most people would be right close to the start of the school year. They have a 30-day window to elect benefits. So one of the issues that we found was we did a great job. We had everybody that's been hired. Everybody's been through their 30-day window. We didn't have any outstanding there. But then they come into this phase of their first pay being in September. they have catch-up contributions. So that kind of skewed the data a little bit, and it did on Sunday when I was looking at this. If you looked at the Finance Committee email, it caused me a little bit of panic because it looked like it was a little bit heavier, but then as I slowed down and looked at what was going on, it started to make a little bit of sense, but it does make those trends a little bit harder to see. Next slide, please. Okay, so as we updated the revenue, something that needs to be pointed out, in House Bill 96, they did not increase those funding components. So although our state aid did see a little bit of an increase due to some of the things like the phase-in of the transportation where we're so large in and some of the special education, we did see increases there, but we also have now found ourselves to be the second highest district on the guarantee in the state at $18.1 million in fiscal year 26. If the and then in fiscal year 27, we have that estimated right now at $24.4 million on the guarantee. So that's an important piece to point out, because if the guarantees were to go away, that would be roughly the equivalent of about a 3.3 mil levy just to maintain what we currently have. And if 24.4, that's about 4.5. So that is a high level of risk if we were to get into, state legislators saying that they were going to do away with these guarantees that we have. So that's something that we just want to be aware of. They've been on since the Fair School Funding Plan has came to be. We've had those on. It just keeps moving. Sometimes they have went away. Sometimes they've went up to 9 million. This is just definitely the highest that we've seen it so far. On other revenues, we did see at the federal level, they just had a drop in interest. So our forecast is reflecting that, as well as with the state tuitions. And then now, in fiscal year 29, after we have updated some of these components, this current forecast, although we had that in May at a 3.6, now that we've had a couple of these adjustments come in, that's actually showing a model now at 3.6, I think I said 3.6 twice. In May, we had 3.4 mils forecasted. Now, I was working hard to make sure that we balanced back to where we reviewed in the Finance Committee. To accomplish that, that brought us to a 3.6. So a slight increase in what that forecasted levy could look like if we have to get to the point of operating. Things that went into that was the reduction of that homestead exemption as well. And then in the tax year 26 reappraisal, we have Class 1 estimated to be a 15% increase, and Class 2, which is the commercial industrial property, at a 5% increase. Staffing, we did see some updates to, or on the expense side rather, we did see some updates to the staffing side. It's just based on the retire replacement. We have a few positions that are left. You'll see in the assumption that there are positions that we still have out there anticipated that we just haven't filled yet. So we're capturing those to make sure that we're bringing those in and everybody can see the planning. Healthcare, mentioned at the prior meeting, we had wonderful news that healthcare appears to start to stabilize, and now we have forecasted fiscal 27 through 30 at a 3% year over year based on what we're seeing today. So that has been very helpful. And then still we have the programming assumptions and the transfers.
And again, just to clarify, that levy is only should we not have the bond.
That is correct. We can only forecast, when you look at these, we can only forecast what we know we have. What we know we have is what we have. So until the plan for what we have changes, this is what we're forecasting on. Next slide. So, oh, did I go to? Sorry about that. So revenue growth. This is where when you look at this slide and you see the revenue growth, in fiscal 27, you see that big uptick. That's due to that reappraisal. Now, a great example of how House Bill 920 works is we forecasted a 15% increase to Class 1, which is 80% of our value. So it's really the heavy portion of our value. Class 1, Class 2 combined, that brings us in somewhere around 13, I'm wanting to say. But you only see that revenue change on roughly $200 million we have, that's only 3% or $6 million. So that's because if a 15% Class 1 happens, when I mentioned earlier we're at 23.3, that would actually, 23.3 mils is where we're at today. If we have a 15% increase, that would bring us down to 21 effective mills based on the model we have. So that's how that House Bill 920 works. As you see growth, it brings back the effective millage to ensure that we collect the prior year. Where that growth comes from is the inside millage based on the Ohio Constitution. We have 6.49 mills on the inside. So that's how the revenue overall over a 5-year average, that's actually a 1.9 average. So on the expense side, as you can see, we have a 2% average overall, but that's where the dips happen. Let me see, in fiscal 27, we have a decrease. I don't know why I looked at it that way. I'm not sure exactly where that's coming from. I'd have to look at that to have a little better information. But overall, we're seeing an average of about 2% there. We're forecasting in salaries and as well as the health care on that. That's a big drive, as well as transportation and purchase service. So I kind of combined two here. So when we look at this and moving forward, we work on this as a team. We have strategic plan, we have goals that we have to identify, we have to make sure that we're able to establish and roll out and plan around financially. We also now, I'm putting in the third bullet, is legislation changes, because as we have seen the impact of legislation, this was one that we approved the forecast already. We may now have to go back and make an update because we've recently found we have a change there. So we have to be very aware of that. Something that we talked about putting in is a longer term so that, you know, as we do see these impacts of legislation changes from a very high level, we can, you know, relay that message over to our legislators so they can understand kind of how that impacts Lakota local schools. And then the part of this plan is, you know, calibrating on how we get there and how we maintain. This is one component of many different ways people can engage in Lakota's finances. This is just one, the financial forecast is one piece to many of the ways that we have out there that people can engage with us, see what we have going on, ask questions, and help us calibrate, help us know if there's any places that we can do a little bit better. Questions?
Go back that last page. Go back one slide. Yeah, we have this on the website. Okay.
That's correct, and all of these QR codes are live. The presentation will also be presented on the webpage. It's in board docs. All these QR codes, if you take a picture, it'll take you directly to each one of these.
Yeah, I wanted to say it because some people might not know where to find it. That way they know that it's there.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
What was the response to the legislator about everybody that takes tax dollars?
Thought it was a wonderful idea. I mean, that was one of the points that I made was
It's a good idea.
when people have said that there was a windfall which allows things to happen, if we're not aware, you know, we all live in the community. We live in this community. We live in Butler County. You know, we would like to be able to see, you know, where windfalls are. And personally, you know, I've told this to the board many times, that I don't want to pay any more in taxes than I need to, just like everybody else. You know, we all want to, you know, we just want it to be just right.
Because I think it's, again, always important to stress, as we know we're coming up for a reappraisal, and that because property taxes go up 46%, your tax bill doesn't go up 46%.
His property values go.
Your property value, sorry, yeah.
I wish my model was wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
I wish it was, but like the second half collection from our estimates, we were within $500, so we're close.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's always important to remember, that the property value doesn't necessarily mean that that's what your taxes are going up.
And I feel like last time when it was communicated out, I think people believed when their reevaluation went out and it did go up by so much that they were going to see their property tax bill go up by that same amount. So it's nice to see this, and actually that we were below the rate of inflation, if you look at any increases we got. And I also think it's confusing because different states don't do it the same way. Like the state I'm come from, you have a choice when you have a levy, it automatically goes up essentially by the inflation rate, and then you're voting whether you want it to go up by more than that. So I think, you know, there's different models in different states. I think people sometimes get confused because we do have so many people moving in and out of the state
At one
of
of
how
our,
differently Ohio funds their schools than
we did
most
have an
states.
interesting question at one of our Building Our Future sessions. Somebody talked about the property tax increase that's coming next year. And I did see an article, and I was asked something by the newspaper. If you look at the Journal News, you might see there was a piece quoted by me in there. And I did get clarification from Auditor Nix that there isn't anticipated to be on your tax bill in calendar year 26 that's coming up, or next year, like I would assume that would be. There is not a change to anything that is in calendar year tax bills that would be collecting in calendar year 27 due to that reappraisal. So any of the reference points of we're looking at a 20% increase, as some of the 17 to 20% is one of the articles I read. It's not next calendar year collection, it would be the following year. So if you see that, know that I'm not missing that in the assumptions when it shows 27. And I did clarify that. I'm getting ready to have the forecast. I need to make sure that my assumptions are right. And Auditor Nix assured that that is correct, that it's not until the reappraisal that's coming. Collection in 2027.
And again, that increase wouldn't be passed on in the same proportion.
That's correct. Yep, that's why our increase is reflected. It would have us effective millage rolling down. I looked at that before coming out tonight. Effective millage rolling down about 2.3 mils to assure that we got the same, and then the increase that you'd see to the 15% would only be on the inside millage of 6.49.
So, and you've referenced the due twice. It's to the Department of Education and Workforce,
Yeah.
which again.
Formerly known
we
as
do
the Ohio
great-
Department of Education.
Yeah, yeah, acronym soup, and in most industries, not just education, but clarify that. All right, any other questions or comments for Mr. Zink?
Thank you.
Okay, I
Appreciate
do
the
know,
update.
I did think of it. I know I got hung up on the slide about the drop in 27. In 26, we weren't able to get through the fleet purchase, so the forecasted decrease that we had, that is reflected in 27, but it wasn't in 26 because we had to take that off because we ran out of runway. So that's what the drop was. I'm sorry I didn't have that correct.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you. All right, and now we'll move to treasurer's recommendations. We have approval of board minutes A, B, approval of monthly financial reports, C, approval of the financial forecast, and D, permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2026. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
I will add that typically you would see me do in this month a presentation on appropriations. Because we had the forecast presentation, the 5-year forecast ties out to the permanent appropriations. That was another caveat they put in. I should have mentioned that in the presentation. They tie to that the way we budget on the extracurricular side. If it's fundraised, it's budgeted to cash as well as with our grants. So the forecast and the permanent appropriations for our general fund do match. And they haven't really gave us clear guidance, but I intend to send this over to the county auditor, send the forecast over, and send over an amended certificate of our resources that also ties to the 5-year forecast for them to review if they so chose to.
All right, any questions or further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Zink, please call the roll.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Thank
We
you.
now move to superintendent's recommendations, A, personnel items, B, a personnel resolution, C, approval of student fees 25-26, D, approval of resolution declaring transportation impractical, E, contracts, F, donations, and G, field trips. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. Can you give us highlights for the interest of those that
Yeah,
don't
absolutely.
have?
So you have your normal personnel issue. You do have a personnel resolution in item B. Student fees, we know we talked a little bit about that. I want to bring this up again. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, I mentioned to you that we've made some PSAT changes. The PSAT, we pay for all juniors to take the PSAT. However, some families choose to take that multiple times, and the cost for that fee is $18. And so if a family wanted to take it outside of their junior year, sometimes sophomores like to take it, that's kind of the normal optional range. We wanted to approve those fees so that if a family decided to do that in an optional year, that is the reason you're seeing fees again, because in case we did have some families who choose that optional route as a sophomore, that they could do so almost like as a practice version for the PSAT. But again, the PSAT is not really thought of as a practice test and then a test. That is why we pay for it as the junior year. It really can be a one-time only test that you take. As far as approving the resolution declaring transportation impractical, you see those at various times of the year. Unfortunately, they're on a rolling kind of method. We try to catch them in August, and then we also try to catch them in January. Those are kind of our two brunts, but we do have some that pop up during the year. Contracts, you have two contracts up for approval. One is Frontline. So Frontline is multi-pronged. Not only do we use it for like ASOP or absence management, but we also use it for our hiring processes. That is not new, but the new piece on that you were seeing tonight is, I call it a perceiver in the human resource world. It's a screening assessment tool that gives us some other data so that we have just a data point on our information, our candidates that apply for any job. So that's going to be new to that. That's what you're approving. And then the other piece is for Dr. Wertzler, who is coming through us through Learning Expired. That's the contract, but she is actually, if you remember, we did not fill the Executive Director of People Services this year, and we also had a staff member who left to go to Princeton, so that leaves a hole with our Comprehensive Continuous Improvement Plan, acronym of CCIP. You might also hear that called One Plan sometimes. She is covering just that piece of that hole for the federal grants piece. So that contract is for Dr. Wertzler to do the CCIP pieces that we have a hole in currently without the executive director and that change in staff.
Great. Any further questions or clarifications? I just want to share that with the PSAT, the reason some students may choose to do that as a sophomore is your junior score does determine our national merit finalists. And so some people are choosing to do that so that they have that they may perceive that they'll have a better opportunity as a junior to qualify as a national merit finalist.
And we don't have a ton of those children who opt to do that, but we wanted to give our families that option for $18 if they wanted to do. And so that's why we needed to make it a fee, because we cannot charge a fee that hasn't been board approved through you.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, hearing no further discussion, Mr. Zink, please call the roll.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes. We'll move to closing comments. I'll start with Mrs. Casper today.
Oh,
Jumping out of line,
see, I'm so confused. I don't really have anything, just that it's been, exciting to, are we in the second quarter already, right?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Second quarter?
Not yet.
No.
We're getting close.
Getting close. But it's been nice. I've been able to go into some buildings and see the fun stuff going on, so that's always been a highlight for me. I love going into the building and seeing our students learn.
Just like we got to experience.
Yes, that was so much fun. I have been to a couple of the Adam and Ashley show, which they do an amazing job explaining, but I would encourage people to find one that you can attend or to put one together in your home or your HOA, because it really is fascinating to almost sit there and see the light bulb go on when people understand, when it's explained to them in a way that's not like Adam, who eats, drinks, and sleeps school finance. I mean, I know when he explained it to me, it was like, oh, okay, now I get it. So if you have an opportunity to come out, I really think that it would benefit people to understand what we're doing and to hear the information factual. There's a lot of stuff out there that is not accurate, and I just want people to get the accurate information to make an informed decision, regardless of that decision. So that's it.
All right, now I'm going to jump to you. I'm just going to jump around today.
Okay. The student spotlight today is interesting, especially that I know these kids will go home today excited that they met their board members and they're able to do projects with them. And I know some of them will tomorrow tell their friends. So I love what they did today. I don't like football that much, but this season, I'm enjoying this season, watching this football. The other day when I was at the East game, I didn't see any of you guys. I was there by myself.
Yeah, I was at West when you were at East.
Oh, you were in West.
I was at
okay.
West, yeah. They're both on the same nights. It's hard for us.
So some of the students say, why is it that you're here by yourself? Somebody came to me and said, why are you here? Only you. I think you were somewhere.
I was selling concessions at West.
Okay.
I was supposed to be half and half that night, but that
Yeah.
concession stand got a little crazy, so I just decided to help man the fort.
Yeah. So I didn't know that it is important to them that they like to see us around. So it's fun. I'm going to try as much as possible, all the home games throughout this year, to be there. Congratulations on that. We still return 4.5 star. My fear before was because of the transition. I thought maybe, I know that we're not going to go higher, but my fear was maybe we won't be able to maintain. But it's good that we're able to maintain that. So it's another challenge for you now. Next year, I won't be here, but I want to hear that we're at 5 star.
Me too.
I know you can do it. So that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Dr. Whaley?
As I had my partner in our science experiment, and they shared about their collaboration, their communication, just risk-taking and ability to fail and learn from that. Those are the soft skills that we are trying to instill each and every day for our children, not only in the 3rd grade, but for our graduates, for real-world readiness, for college readiness, employment readiness. And so I again, think about the opportunities that we're making happen in our existing environment, and just how a building does not certainly change student achievement, but it certainly can enhance or hinder student achievement. And coupling that with our report card has just got me thinking a lot about that. But again, I think those soft skills and just that ability to collaborate and work together in our youngest learners all the way through is an exciting opportunity we have.
Thank you. Mr. Zink?
Okay, I just wanted to add that through all of the presentations that we have been doing, I'm not naturally an extrovert, so it's kind of been draining a little bit at times for me. But we have had some really, really good feedback. We have had some really good engagement. We've met a lot of people through this process that I haven't met before. Starting year 10, haven't met before. And of all the light bulbs we've had go off, another one that I think has been very important is people understand that we're constantly trying to get better. We're constantly trying to get feedback however we can get it so that we can always be evolving. So I think that, even though we might run into some people that might have a different perspective on it, I've found that they usually leave the meeting realizing that we all are part of the community and we all do want to see what's best for the community, no matter what that means. So it has been a very positive, process so far. It hadn't been the easiest. It's been a lot of evenings and a lot of early mornings. I joke that these people that come from being a high school educator, they like to schedule these earlier morning meetings than I definitely like, but yeah, it's been good. It's been good to get our message out, and no matter the outcome, we will continue working hard to do what's best for this Lakota school community.
Again, thank you to Ashley and Adam for all the work you are doing out there. I do think, again, in some conversations I've had, we could have made it simpler, but I don't think that's what would have been best for our district and our community, because we wanted to take full advantage of co-funding opportunities with the state and taking advantage of that 32% and taking advantage of delaying the timing as much as we can so that we don't have that double burden for people of old bonds and new bonds. So I appreciate the willingness to take on the educational challenges in order to make sure what we're doing makes the most financial sense that we can possibly make it be. Also, congratulations on the report card. Again, not only replicating that, but doing that at the same time that you're implementing new curriculum. You're always concerned, not only a leadership change, but a curriculum change. That's a heavy lift. There was a lot of training, there was a lot of new challenges when you're adapting, making sure you have all the right supporting materials to support that new curriculum. And we know that that was a huge lift for our staff and our students, so we appreciate that diligence and that they're continuing to try to find ways to make our educational system better every day. So thank you to everyone and all you're pouring into that. With that, I'd like a motion to enter into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. And 2, to prepare for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. And 3, to review matters required to be kept confidential by federal or state law and regulation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, we will not be taking action when we end executive session, and thank you for coming this evening. Oh, yes, you have to call the roll, that would be good.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes. And again, our action we will be taking is adjourning the meeting after we come back out, so sorry about that.
Shares off.
Everybody's mic, I think Ashley's mic is on. I'd like to pull us out of executive session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Zing, please call the roll.
Ms. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. D?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes. Thanks, everyone.